The music was loud, laughter filled the wedding hall. Lights danced across golden curtains. Everyone was smiling, dressed in bright clothes. It was Mahar's niece's wedding, and the entire family had gathered for the big day. Mahar, wearing a soft pink sari and a small smile, sat at a table in the corner. She clapped politely when the bride walked in. She smiled when people came to greet her, but inside, she felt small, invisible, like a faded flower in a garden full of new blooms. Baji, you look lovely, one woman said as she passed, but her voice had pity in it, not respect. Another aunt whispered loudly, she's still single, poor thing. What is she now? 43, 42? Another voice replied, so sad. All the good years gone. No one marries at this age. Mahar heard every word. She kept smiling. She was used to this. These comments had followed her for the last 10 years. At first, they hurt like sharp glass. Now they just left quiet bruises. A little girl came running and sat beside Mahar. It was her niece's younger cousin. Auntie Mahar, she said sweetly, don't you want to be a bride too? Mahar paused. The question was pure, not mocking, just innocent, but it landed deep in her chest. She looked at the girl and forced a smile. Some dreams come late, sweetie, she said softly. The girl nodded. But they do come, right? Mahar didn't answer, she just looked away. The dancing started. Mahar quietly slipped out of the hall. No one noticed. Outside it had started raining. The sky was dark and heavy. She removed her sandals and began walking down the road barefoot, not sure where she was going, just away. Far from the noise, the questions, the eyes that always judged. As she reached the edge of the street, a large puddle blocked her path. She stopped. Her sari was already wet, her feet muddy. Just then, a voice behind her said, careful, the road ahead is deep. She turned. A man stood there holding an umbrella. He looked around, 30, tall, calm eyes, kind face. You'll slip if you step in that, he said gently. She didn't respond, just nodded. He stepped forward, took off his jacket, and placed it across the puddle. Step on this. It's safer. Mahar hesitated. It'll get dirty. He smiled. It's just a jacket. You're worth more than mud. She stepped across, feeling her cheeks burn. No one had said something like that to her in years. As she reached the other side, she turned to thank him, but he had already started walking. Away she watched his back disappear into the darkness. Umbrella swaying gently in the rain. She didn't know his name, but something about his voice stayed with her. Later that night, Mahar sat in her room, hair still damp. She looked into the mirror. The kyle around her eyes had faded. Her lipstick was gone, but the words she heard at the wedding still rang in her ears. Too old, poor thing. Sad. She picked up an old photo from her table. It was from her college days. She had bright eyes and big dreams back then. Where did that girl go? She whispered. The next morning, Mahar went to work. She was an interior designer, well respected in her office. Her colleagues were mostly younger, full of energy. She worked quietly, did her job well, and avoided small talk. As she entered the meeting room for the new project briefing, her boss stood up. This is Mr. Rayan Malik, he said. He's our new lead architect from Dubai. He'll be joining this project. Mahar turned to greet him and froze. It was him, the man from the rain. He smiled when he saw her, a soft, knowing smile. We meet again, he said politely. She blinked. Yes, I suppose we do. Others looked at them curiously, but the moment passed. The meeting continued. Throughout the day, Mahar felt strange. She had never been affected by someone like this. Not in years. Rayan was smart, respectful, and didn't seem to care about the usual office gossip. During lunch, he sat across from her. So, you work here full-time? He asked. She nodded. For the last 8 years. He smiled. That's impressive. The design board in your office, it's yours, right? She nodded again, surprised. It's beautiful, he said. Clean, honest, like the person who made it. She looked at him carefully. Was he just being polite or did he mean it? That night after work, Mahar returned home, tired. As she changed into her nightwear, she noticed something unusual on her desk. A small note, no name, just neat handwriting. Don't hide your smile, it lights up everything. She looked around. Who left it? Why? Her heart beat faster. Was it him? She walked to the window and looked at the stars. They were quiet, but her heart wasn't. For the first time in many years, she felt seen. The next morning, Mahar arrived at the office early. She tried to act normal, but her mind was not calm. She kept thinking about the note from last night. Who left it? Was it really from Rayhan, or was she imagining something that wasn't real? She reminded herself. You're not a schoolgirl. Don't overthink. Just do your job. As the day went on, Rayhan remained kind and professional. During the team meeting, he praised her ideas. Mahar's design for the entrance is brilliant. It gives warmth without trying too hard. People turned to look at her. She gave a small smile but said nothing. After the meeting, one of her younger co-workers came to her desk and whispered, So, what's going on with the new guy? It seems very friendly with you. Mahar replied, Nothing's going on. Please focus on your work. The girl giggled and walked away, but the gossip had already started. During lunch, Mahar sat alone as usual, but today Rayhan came and joined her. I hope you don't mind, he said. She shook her head. He took out a small box. I got these. Sweets from a local bakery. Want to try one? She took one politely. As she bit into it, he said, when I moved here, people told me this city is cold, but I've met someone who proves them wrong. She looked at him with raised eyebrows. Who? She asked. He smiled. Mayher laughed quietly. I'm not exactly the warmest person. He leaned forward slightly. You're honest. That's rare. For a moment, she forgot about age. She forgot about people watching. She forgot about the voices that told her she was too old, too late, too faded. That afternoon, a new rumor spread through the office. Someone said they saw Rayan and Mayhor having lunch together, and they seemed too close. Mayhor heard the whispers but ignored them. She had work to finish. But when she stepped into the break room for tea, she overheard two coworkers talking. I mean, look at her. She's like, what, 40? And he's barely 30. What's she trying to prove? The other replied. Maybe she's lonely. Still, it's kind of desperate, right? They didn't know she was behind the door. She walked away without saying anything, but inside, something cracked. Later that evening, Rayan found her in the design room, sketching alone. You okay? He asked. She didn't look up, just tired. He stood there silently for a moment. Then he said, I know people are talking, but I don't care. She finally looked at him. Maybe you should. You're new here. You don't need my baggage. He smiled gently. You're not baggage. Mahar, you're a story I want to know. Her eyes filled with tears, but she blinked them away. The next day Mahar went to her brother's house. It was her niece's post-wedding dinner. Family members had gathered again. As she entered, she noticed the change. Some people looked at her differently, less with kindness, more with curiosity. Her sister-in-law came to her side. So I heard there's a new man in your office, she said. He's quite young, isn't he? Mahar replied. Yes, but he's just a colleague. The woman smirked. Just be careful. At your age, it's easy to confuse kindness for something more. Mahar said nothing. She had learned that silence sometimes said more than words. During dinner, her brother sat beside her. Mahar, I say this with love. You're not a kid anymore. You should act wisely. People talk. You know how it is. She looked down at her plate. So I should stop being treated like a human, just because I'm over 40. He sighed. You know what I mean. She stood up quietly and left the table. In the hallway, she stood alone, holding her emotions inside. Suddenly, her niece came to her. The same little girl from the wedding. She held a drawing in her hand. I made this for you, she said. It showed Mahar in a white bridal dress, standing next to a man. I think you'll make a pretty bride one day, the girl said. Mahar knelt and hugged her tightly. No one had ever believed that, not even Mahar. When she returned home, she sat on her bed and stared at the walls. Her heart was heavy, her mind full. She felt like she was in the middle of a river, pulled by two sides, one of hope and one of fear. That night, she typed a resignation letter. I need peace, she thought. This is not worth the noise. She saved it on her desktop and went to sleep. The next morning, she printed the letter and placed it in her bag. At the office, she waited for the right moment to give it. Around lunchtime, Rayan knocked on her cabin door. Can we talk? He asked. She nodded. He handed her a file. There's a property visit tomorrow. I'd like you to come with me. It's a site I want you to see. Mahar hesitated. I'm not sure if that's a good idea, he asked. Why not? She looked down. Because people talk. Rayan gently placed the file on her desk. Let them. I don't care what they say. I care what you say. He paused, then looked her in the eyes. Please come. I want to show you something important. She didn't answer right away, but something in his voice. It didn't feel like pressure. It felt like trust. After he left, Mahar looked at her resignation letter again. She held it for a long time. Then she folded it and placed it back in the drawer. She wasn't sure why. She just knew she wasn't ready to say goodbye. The next morning, Mahar stood in front of her mirror, unsure what to wear. It wasn't just a site visit anymore. It felt like something more. After a long pause, she chose a plain blue kurta and tied her hair simply. It's just work, she reminded herself. Keep it professional. But as she left home, she couldn't stop her heart from beating faster. Rayan was waiting near the office gate. Ready? He asked with a smile. She nodded. The car ride was quiet at first. Then he said, Thank you for coming. She looked out the window. I wasn't sure if I should. He glanced at her. I'm glad you did. They passed trees, small shops, and dusty roads. Soon they reached the edge of the city, a quiet, peaceful area with an old building under renovation. This, Rayan said, stepping out, is a community center I'm designing for women. Widows, divorcees, older women so society often ignores. Mahar looked around, surprised. The building was still rough, but the plan was beautiful. A large open space, gardens, art rooms, and even a small library. Why this place? She asked. Rayan sat on a stone bench. Because of my mother. She was left alone at 4. Everyone told her she was done, but she built herself again. I want this place to help others do the same. Mahar sat beside him, silent. She looked around and imagined women sitting, laughing, creating something again. It's beautiful, she said softly. Rayan looked at her. Like you. She turned to him, eyes wide. he added gently, strong, quiet, real. She looked away, her hands tightening in her lap. Please don't say things like that, she said. Why not? He asked. Because I don't want to believe in something that will break me later. They sat in silence. Then Rayan stood. I brought you here because I trust you with this place. I want you to design the inside. You understand emotions better than anyone I've met. Mahor blinked. Me, but I thought. He smiled. I didn't bring you here for romance, Mahor. I brought you here for purpose. The rest is yours to decide. On the way back, she felt lighter. Maybe it wasn't love. Maybe it was respect. Or maybe both, but things at the office were changing fast. The gossip had grown louder. One day, while Mahar was walking to the elevator, two coworkers walked behind her. One said, I'm sure she's doing something to keep him close. I mean, why else would a young man hang around her? The other replied, he's probably just being nice. Or maybe he has a hidden reason. Mahor clenched her fists but kept walking. Later, she was called into HR, just a routine check, they said. But the questions felt personal. Are you and Mr. Rayan in a relationship? Do you think your age difference might affect the work environment? Mahor stayed calm. I am a professional, so is he. That's all you need to know. After the meeting, she sat in her cabin, eyes burning. She wasn't angry, she was tired. That evening, she found Rayan in the parking lot. Why are you doing this? She asked. He looked confused. Doing what? She stepped closer. Being kind, saying nice things, giving me dreams I didn't ask for. He looked hurt. I'm not playing games, Mahor, she said sharply. Then stopped, because I can't take the stares, the jokes, the whispers. I've lived my whole life proving I don't need anyone. Don't make me forget that. She turned and walked away, leaving him standing alone. At home, she cried for the first time in months. Not because someone hurt her, but because someone cared, and she pushed him away. The next few days were silent. Rayan didn't come to her cabin, he didn't call, didn't message. The distance felt worse than the gossip. One afternoon, she walked into the design room and found a printed draft of the community center plans. There was a small sticky note on it. Even if you're not beside me, your touch should still live here. Please design this space for them, for yourself. She held the paper tightly. That weekend she decided to visit the construction site again. The workers were there. The walls had been painted, and small plants were being placed. She walked slowly, touching the walls, imagining stories. Women reading, women painting, women healing. A young mason walked up to her and said, Sir, told us to give this to you if you ever came back. He handed her a box. Inside was a small hand-carved sign that read, You are not late. You were just waiting for a heart that saw you. Her eyes filled with tears. She sat on the ground, in the center of the unfinished hall, and let herself feel everything. He hadn't given up, he just gave her space. And somehow, that made her want to run back. But just as she was about to stand, her phone buzzed. A message from her mother. Your cousin is bringing a marriage proposal. A widower, no children, slightly older than you. Please don't say no this time. Mahor stared at the message. She had fought the world, she had fought herself. But now, she would have to make a choice that could break everything again. Stared at the message for a long time. Her hands were cold. She reread her mother's words again and again. A marriage proposal. From a widower, her cousin had arranged it. They wanted her to say yes this time. No excitement, no questions, just quiet pressure. She put the phone down and looked around the empty building. The soft wind moved the plastic sheets. Her heart felt like it was being pulled in two directions. That night at home, Mahor sat at the dinner table with her mother. The food was untouched. Her mother finally spoke. He's a decent man, alone like you. You both need companionship. Mahor replied softly, You mean I need someone before I grow too old to be wanted at all? Her mother sighed. I'm just saying, don't waste more time. Mahor looked into her mother's tired eyes. But what if I don't feel anything? Not even a little. Her mother said firmly, At your age, love is a luxury. Respect and stability should be enough. Mahor got up quietly and walked away. The next day Rayan was in the office, but he didn't come near her. Mahor worked silently, pretending to focus. She noticed he had removed her name from the design team for the community center. Her heart sank. Had he given up? Maybe it was better this way. Clean. No more questions. No more stares. But deep inside, it didn't feel right. Later that evening, her brother called. Emmy told me about the proposal, he said. You should think about it seriously. It's time, Mahor. She closed her eyes. You all talk about time like it's a cage. Can I not choose peace over pressure? Her brother said. Peace won't hold your hand when you're old. This man will. Mahar didn't reply. She ended the call. That night she opened her wardrobe. At the back, hidden behind old saris, was her bridal dress. Ivory with soft pink borders. She had bought it 20 years ago, her heart full of dreams. The man she loved had left just 2 weeks before the wedding. He said she was too serious and not exciting enough. That day, a part of her had shut down. She sat on the floor with the dress in her lap. Her phone buzzed again. Another message from her cousin. He'll be coming to meet you this Sunday at 5 p.m. Just say yes. Please, she replied. I'll think about it. The next day, while walking toward the parking lot, Mahor saw Rayan talking to a young woman. They laughed. The girl touched his arm while speaking. Mahar's stomach turned. She quickly looked away and kept walking, but Rayan saw her. He called out Mahor, wait, but she kept going. That night there was a knock on her door. She opened it to find a delivery man holding a small envelope. From Mr. Rayan, he said. She took it and closed the door. Inside was a note. Some stories need space, but space doesn't mean silence. Come to the site tomorrow. One last time. The next day was Sunday, the day of the proposal meeting. At 10 a.m., she stood in front of the community center again. The doors were open. Inside, sunlight poured through the glass panels. Rayan was already there, standing near the wall where she once sat and cried. He smiled gently. Thank you for coming. She walked in slowly. Why did you remove me from the design team? She asked. He looked down. I thought you didn't want to be part of this anymore. After that night, I didn't want to make things harder for you, Mahor replied. You didn't make things hard. The world did, and I let it. Rehan looked at her. You said once you can't believe in something that might break you. But not everything ends in pain, Mahar. Some things, heal, she whispered. But what if I'm too late for love? He stepped closer. Then love must be very patient. They stood quietly. The air was still. Mahor wanted to speak, but her heart was confused. I don't know what this is, she said. Is it kindness? Is it something more? Rayan's voice was soft. It's not pity. It's not kindness. It's peace when I see you. It's respect when I hear you. And it's something more when I miss you. Mahor's eyes filled with tears. They all say I'm too old for dreams like this, he replied. Then maybe they've never dreamed hard enough. Suddenly her phone rang. It was her mother. She didn't answer. She already knew it was about the man coming at 5 p.m. Rayan asked gently, do you need to go? Mahor looked at him, her voice shaking. There's a man coming to see me today. A proposal. My family thinks it's my last chance. Rayan didn't flinch. He only asked, do you think it's your last chance? She stood silent for a long time. Then she said, I don't want to be chosen because someone thinks I'm still good enough. I want to be chosen because someone sees me even now. Rayan smiled. Then I'm already standing in front of you. Mahor closed her eyes. She could still hear her mother's voice, her brother's voice, society's voice. But in this moment, she heard her own. She turned toward the door and said, let me handle this one last thing. And she left. The doorbell rang again. Then again, her mother stood near the window, looking out. They're here, she said softly, turning to Mahar's empty room. Mahar. But Mahar wasn't there. The room was clean. The bed was made. Her phone lay on the table, switched off. Her mother's hands began to tremble. She opened the door with a nervous smile. A tall man in his early 50s stood there with his sister. Good evening, he said politely. Her mother forced a smile. Please, come in. But her heart sank. Meanwhile, Mahor sat on a quiet bench near the community center. The air was warm, the breeze soft. She had brought a small notebook with her. Inside it were pages she had never shown anyone. Thoughts, dreams, poems. She once wrote lines like, a flower doesn't ask for a name. It just blooms. She ran her fingers over the paper. For years, she had waited for permission from others. From society, from her family, to feel seen. But now, she finally gave that permission to herself. Rian arrived a little later, holding 2 cups of tea. He handed one to her without speaking. She took it with a quiet nod. You didn't go? He asked gently. Mahor looked at him and said, no. Let someone else marry him. I've waited this long. I won't say yes just to fill time. Rayan smiled. You didn't run away from something. You ran toward yourself. She smiled too. Feels strange, but right. Back at her home, the suitor and his sister were growing uncomfortable. She knew we were coming, didn't she? The woman asked. Her mother tried to hide her embarrassment. Yes, she must have stepped out. Maybe just a short walk. The man stood up slowly. It's okay. I understand. Maybe she isn't ready. Her mother nodded quietly, feeling the truth settle in her chest. The next morning, Mahor returned home. Her mother was waiting. Where were you? She asked. Not angry, just tired. Someplace I needed to be, Mahor replied. Her mother looked at her long and hard. You turned down your last chance. Mahor smiled softly. That wasn't my last chance, Amy. That was just your last hope that I would follow the path you chose. Her mother didn't speak. For the first time, she realized her daughter was no longer seeking approval. She was finally living on her own terms. Later that week, work at the community center moved fast. Mahor was officially back on the design team. Her touch could be seen everywhere. The soft lighting in the reading rooms, the handmade cushions in the art corner, the wide mirrors in the dance space. Rayan watched her with quiet admiration. One evening, he walked beside her as they observed the final paintwork. There's something about this place, he said. It feels like it's already alive. Mahor nodded. Maybe because it's built from broken pieces just like us. That night, they sat outside under the stars. Rayan looked at her, his voice calm. Can I ask you something, Mahor? She turned to him. Yes. He hesitated for a second. Do you ever imagine what it would feel like to start life again, not alone? Mihor didn't answer immediately. Then she said, I used to think love had an expiry date, but after a certain age, it became a silly thing to want. Rayan looked at her gently, and now she took a breath. Now I think, maybe it just becomes more honest. Silence sat between them, not awkward, just full. Suddenly, a message came on Mehor's phone. It was a voice note from her niece. Mehor played it. The girl's voice said, Auntie, Mummy says you did something brave. I want to be brave like you one day. Also, I still want to see you in a bridal dress. You'll look so beautiful. Mihor's eyes watered. Rayan reached over and held her hand. No words, just quiet support. The next day, a group of elderly women came to visit the center. Some were widows, some had been left by their families. One woman, wearing a bright yellow dupatta, held Meher's hands and said, This place feels like light. I haven't felt light in years. Meher replied, It's yours. Come here anytime. It's built for hearts like yours. The woman smiled, and yours too, Beta. You carry many hearts inside you. That evening, Rayan came to her cabin. He looked nervous. Tomorrow is the soft launch. A few guests, a few speeches. Will you say something? Mehor panicked. I'm not good with words in front of people. Rayan smiled. That's funny, because the words you write in your notebook are better than anything I've ever heard. She looked up, surprised. You saw that? He nodded, by accident. But every line felt like truth. She thought for a moment, then nodded. Okay, I'll speak. For the women who still think it's too late, as Rayan turned to leave, he paused at the door. And Meher, she looked up. Yes. He smiled slightly. When you speak tomorrow, just know I'll be listening like someone who already believes in you. After he left, Mehor sat back and let the words form in her heart. She wasn't just writing a speech. She was writing the truth she had waited 42 years to say. The next morning, the sky was clear. Sunlight poured into every corner of the community center. Staff members moved quickly, setting up chairs, placing flowers, testing the microphone. A soft launch was planned, a small event with a few guests, mostly women from the local area, and some media people. Everyone looked excited, but Mehor felt nervous. It wasn't just about the speech. It was about finally standing in the light, not hiding behind silence anymore. She wore a simple cream-colored kurta with a light gold dupatta. Her hair was loose. No heavy makeup, but her eyes were shining. Rayan saw her from across the room and couldn't look away. He walked over and said, You look like someone who's about to start a new chapter. She smiled nervously. I hope I don't forget my words. He handed her a small folded paper. Then, keep this in your pocket. It's blank, but if you hold it, maybe you'll feel less alone. She laughed softly. You really think I can do this? He looked at her seriously. I don't just think, I know. The event began. Guests were seated. The host gave a warm welcome and introduced the purpose of the center. Then she called Mehar to the stage. Applause filled the hall. Mehar walked slowly to the mic. Her hands were cold, but her voice was steady. She began, For many years, I've believed I was too late, too old, too forgotten. People said it in different ways. Sometimes as jokes, sometimes as advice, and sometimes, in silence. The audience listened quietly. She continued, But I'm standing here today because one person didn't look at my age. He looked at my eyes. He saw that they still had hope, and that hope gave me this courage. She paused, then said, This place is not just walls and windows. It's a promise. To every woman who has been told she's finished. You are not finished. You are just beginning. The room clapped. Some women wiped tears from their eyes. After the speech, many guests came to hug her. You spoke for all of us, one woman said. Thank you, Rayan, stood at a distance, watching quietly. Mehor walked up to him and said, Was I okay? He smiled. You were more than okay. You were powerful. Just then, a journalist came up to Rayhan and asked, Sir, may I ask, is Ms. Mehar your business partner, or something more? Rayhan looked at Mehar, who waited silently. He replied calmly, She's the heart of this place. Whatever name you give to that, just make sure it's a beautiful one. Later that evening, as the guests left, Mehar and Rayan sat on the garden bench. The sun was setting. The air was cool. You changed something today, Rayan said. Not just for others, but for yourself. She nodded. It feels strange, like I just said things I was scared to even think. He looked at her. I think bravery is just fear with love inside it. They sat quietly. Mehar finally said, Rayan, I haven't told you everything about my past. He turned to her. You don't have to. She shook her head. I want to. You should know. He waited. Meher took a deep breath. 20 years ago, I was engaged. It was a big wedding. Everyone was excited. I loved him. I truly did. But 2 weeks before the wedding, he called me and said he couldn't do it. He said I was too serious. Not fun. Not enough. And just like that, he left. I never saw him again. Rehan listened without interrupting. Mehor continued. After that, I stopped dreaming. I focused only on work. I told myself I didn't need love. But inside, I was just scared it would happen again. Rayan finally spoke. Thank you for telling me. She looked at him, unsure. Does it change anything? He shook his head. Only one thing. She held her breath. He smiled gently. Now I understand you even better, and I'm even more sure of what I feel. She exhaled slowly, her eyes soft. What about you? She asked. What's your story? Ryan leaned back and looked up at the sky. I was engaged too, 5 years ago. Her name was Hiba. She had a laugh that filled every room, but she had a heart problem we didn't know about. She passed away just 3 months before the wedding. Mahor gasped softly. I'm so sorry, Ryan continued. After that, I moved to Dubai. Tried to forget, worked too much, spoke too little. But even then, I always believed that love could find me again. They sat quietly, two souls who had been broken in different ways. But something about their pain made their bond stronger. Mahor looked at him. How do you trust again after something like that? Rayhan replied. Because I believe when hearts are kind, they find their way back to light. It was dark now. Only the soft garden lights were glowing. Mahor stood up. I should go. My mother's probably waiting. Rayhan walked her to the gate. As she turned to leave, he said, Mahor? She looked back. Yes. He stepped closer. If one day, not today, not tomorrow, but one day, I ask you a question that begins a forever, would you consider saying yes? Mahor woke up the next morning feeling different, lighter, like a heavy curtain inside her had been pulled aside. The speech, the guests, the applause, it all felt like a dream, but one she had lived. She looked in the mirror and didn't just see her face. She saw her strength, quiet but shining. Her mother entered the room with a cup of tea. She placed it gently beside her. You were on TV last night, she said. Mahor looked up, surprised. Really? Her mother nodded. They showed a short clip of your speech. People said you spoke with heart. Mahor waited for the usual judgment, but her mother added, I'm proud of you. Those words, they were small, but powerful. Mahor reached out and held her mother's hand. No more debates, no more pressure, just warmth. Later that afternoon, Mahor returned to the community center. It was still quiet, with only a few workers cleaning up after the event. She walked into the reading room and noticed something new, a small wooden plaque on the wall. It read, a space for every woman who dared to bloom late. Below it, in small letters, designed with heart by Mahor Khan. She touched the plaque and smiled. Rayhan had done this. He always found ways to make her feel seen. Just then, one of the female workers came rushing in. Ma'am, please come to the main hall. There's something happening. Mahor followed her quickly. As she entered, she saw a group of older women sitting in a circle. Some were painting, others knitting, some laughing softly. In the middle, Rayhan stood holding a large bouquet of wildflowers. He looked at her and smiled. You're just in time. Mahor walked toward him slowly. What is all this? He handed her the bouquet. A surprise. For you. For them. Today is the first official day this center opens its doors, and I couldn't start without the person who gave it life. The women began clapping. One of them stood and said, We don't feel like guests here. We feel like this is our home. Tears filled Mahar's eyes. She looked around. The art, the colors, the light, it was all hers. But more than that, it belonged to every woman who had ever been told she was too late for joy. After the event, Rayhan walked her outside. Do you have plans tonight? He asked. Mahor smiled. Just sleep. He chuckled. Cancel it. I want to take you somewhere. She gave him a teasing look. Is it a date? He shrugged playfully. Call it a thank you dinner. But yes, maybe. That evening they drove to the edge of the city, to a small rooftop restaurant filled with soft lights and music. Rayhan had reserved a quiet corner table. The view was breathtaking, stars above, the city lights below. Over dinner, they talked about childhood, favorite books, past regrets, and silly dreams. Mahor told him how she once wanted to open a bookstore with a tea cafe. He laughed. That sounds like a place I'd visit every day. She said, I never did it. Life got busy. He replied, maybe it's still waiting for you. They both laughed. But something deep was stirring. As dessert arrived, Rayhan grew quiet. He looked at her carefully, his eyes full of meaning. I told myself I'd wait. Give you time, but Mahor, I don't want to wait anymore. Not because I'm impatient, but because I know what I feel. She didn't speak. Her breath caught in her throat. He continued, you once said you want to be chosen because someone truly sees you. I do. I see your pain, your quiet courage, your stubborn hope. I see the girl who was left, and the woman who rose again. He reached into his coat pocket and took out a small box. I know this is sudden, but I also know life doesn't always give second chances. So, if I don't say it now, I might regret it forever. He opened the box slowly. Inside was a delicate ring, not gold, not diamond, but silver, with a tiny rose carved in the center. Will you walk the rest of your life with me? Not as a young bride, but as a woman who waited, fought, and chose herself until she chose us. Mahor sat frozen, her eyes brimmed with tears. The restaurant seemed to disappear. All the noise, the people, the doubts, gone. She finally whispered. This is not a proposal I ever imagined. No band, no flowers, no fairy tale. He leaned forward. That's because this isn't a fairy tale. It's real. She touched the ring softly. I am scared, she said. Not of you, but of breaking again. He took her hand gently. Then let's not promise perfection. Let's promise honesty. Let's promise to walk even when we feel slow. Together. The moment hung in the air, and then she said the words that changed everything. Yes. He smiled with relief. She laughed through her tears. Around them the restaurant clapped quietly, but in their world it was silent, just peace. When he slipped the ring on her finger, her heart felt light. She wasn't a young bride. She was something even stronger. The morning after the proposal felt like a dream. Mahor sat on her bed, the soft silver ring on her finger catching the light. She turned it slowly, again and again, as if reminding herself it was real. No orchestra had played, no crowd had cheered, but in her heart, there was music. Calm and beautiful, a kind of music she had never heard before. Her mother knocked gently on the door. Can I come in? Mahor nodded. Her mother stepped inside, looked at her hand, and sat beside her. For a few moments, she said nothing. Then she spoke softly. When I was your age, I thought love ended at 30. We were raised to believe a woman has a time limit. Mahor looked at her mother, surprised. You never said that before. Her mother gave a sad smile. Because I was afraid to. I pushed you into choices that felt safe, not joyful. But watching you now, I think I was wrong. Mahor held her hand. There was no anger, just understanding. We all do what we think is best at the time, she said. Her mother asked. Does he make you feel safe? Mahor nodded. Yes. End scene. Later that day, Rayan came to visit. He brought sweets, not the fancy kind, but simple ones Mahor had once mentioned she loved as a child. He sat with her mother respectfully and answered her questions. He talked about his late fiancé with calm honesty. He spoke of the community center, his work, his dreams. Her mother listened closely, occasionally watching Mahor with soft eyes. After he left, her mother said, I still worry, Mahor, not because of your age, but because love always brings risks. Mahor smiled, then let it come with risks, because now, I finally believe I'm worth the chance. The next few weeks moved quietly. No big wedding plans, no rushing, just slow, thoughtful steps. The community center held daily sessions, art classes, book readings, small music events, and Mahor was at the center of it all. Women came to her with their stories. Some cried, some laughed. All of them carried wounds only another woman could understand. One day, an old woman named Sophia came to the center. Her hands were rough, her eyes tired. She sat beside Mahor and said, I lost my husband 25 years ago. Since then, people only saw me as a widow, not a woman. But today, I saw you on the news. You were wearing that ring, and your smile said something I haven't heard in years, it said. I'm not finished yet. Mahor held her hand and whispered, none of us are. As her story began to spread, local news channels and blogs started writing about her. The late bride who changed everything. One article read, another headline said, at 42, she said yes to herself, to love, to life. She was invited to speak at a women's conference. She almost said no, but Rayan told her every time you speak, someone breathes easier. At the event, she stood in front of a crowd of women of all ages. She wore a pale pink sari. Her hair was tied back, no heavy jewelry, just grace. She told her story, not the details, but the feelings, the silence, the years of being told to stay quiet, stay low, stay acceptable. I didn't fall in love at 20. I fell in love when I already had lines near my eyes. When people started calling me auntie instead of miss, and maybe that's why it means more, because I had to love myself first. I had to stop waiting to be picked. I had to say yes to my own heart before I could say it to someone else. The audience stood up to clap. Some cried, some just nodded slowly, feeling seen. That night, Rayan and Mahor walked by the lake. It had become their routine. One quiet walk after every long day. He looked at her and said, you know, you've started something bigger than us, right? She smiled. I only wanted to fix what was broken in me, he replied, and in doing that, you gave light to others. They sat on a bench, watching. The moon. Mahor leaned her head on his shoulder. Do you think we'll be okay? She asked. Rayan gently touched her hand. I don't believe in perfect love, but I believe in honest love, and this feels honest. Weeks later, they held a small ceremony at the community center. Just a few friends, her family, his team, and the women of the center. Mahor didn't wear a big bridal outfit. She wore a simple white dress with delicate flowers in her hair. Rayan wore a plain kurta. They exchanged vows under the same tree they had planted during the center's construction. There was no priest, no long rituals, just promises. Rayan said, I don't promise you the moon. I promise you soft mornings and peaceful nights. I promise to listen, to laugh, to cry with you. I promise to never forget how long you waited and to make every day worth it. Mahor said, I promise to stand beside you, even when my heart feels unsure. I promise to keep growing, to keep choosing us heaven on the hard days. And I promise to never again call myself too late. They held hands. The small crowd clapped gently. Some women cried, and in the back Mahor's mother wiped her eyes and whispered to herself, she made it. On her own time. The story didn't end there. It began. Not in youth, but in courage. Not in fear, but in truth. And not with a bang.